All right. Okay, so we're on. Meagan, thank you. Thanks so much for being a part of the Smart Start Summit and for being so spontaneous about jumping in and joining.
Yeah, no worries.
We're here because there's a huge influx of new life coaches into the market right now, and necessarily so. I mean, the world's in a strange, odd place, and I think it's important. The world's going to need them. But breaking into the online world is a big deal, and it's not easy. It's not easy.
No, it looks easy though. It looks easy, right?
But you know what? We judge easy by people like yourself who didn't start this yesterday, right? They've been doing it for years. It's a slow and steady kind of progress and rate. What we're trying to identify with this summit is all the smart strategies that could accelerate. You know, that with applying could help accelerate that process for coaches online. And
sure.
Pinterest is something that I didn't fully understand. And in fact, I was quite surprised when someone said to me, it's not a social media platform, it's a search engine. I was like, say what?
Yeah. So, wait a sec.
So that was new to me. So take it away. Tell us what it's about.
Yeah, so that's actually a really common misunderstanding about Pinterest. So my background is that I've actually been using Pinterest since the year it rolled out in beta. So I've really seen it go through all the changes, who used it, how it's pivoted, and really there's never been a better time. No matter what your niche is in the online space, Pinterest offers this amazing opportunity. It's not as saturated. Once you sort of unlock how it's different, so you actually hit the nail on the head. There's a huge sort of where it gets lumped in, like, well, I get, Instagram, it's a shoe-in, Facebook groups, that's a shoe-in, and Pinterest, a lot of people, especially coaches, will say, yeah, but are my people on there? Like, I'm not so sure how to use it for a business. Isn't that where you just go to look up recipes or design, your children's new bedroom, or, I'm making a tiny house, how should I decorate it? And the reality is that Pinterest has been quietly helping people understand how they can insert themselves into the buyer's journey or their audience's experience online. But where people struggle is where it's different. And so when something is different, a lot of people are like, I don't know, I can't figure it out. And they just sort of don't invest the time. So what I would love to share is, the great jumping off point is some of the ways that it's different. So it's not a social media platform. It's true that Pinterest in more recent years has been trying to integrate a type of community, or how does it make sense to form community, but it's not somewhere where you go to direct message, where you go to directly engage. It's somewhere where you create visibility and brand awareness. And it's phenomenal because it is a visual search engine. Yeah. So Pinterest uses two things to place your content in front of its audience. And that is through their eyes. So that's the visual search component. So optimizing your content, sharing your amazing educational high value content on the platform. And then they also, like Google, just like when you're writing a landing page or working on your website or a blog post that you've written, you're going to consider your search engine optimization. And that's essentially words or combination of words that tell people what your content is about. So on Pinterest, we just call them Pinterest keywords. And so Pinterest uses a combination of these visuals paired with keywords to help people find your content. So if your content educates, solves problems, provides awareness, inspires, basically assists them in any way and solves a problem, then your people are on Pinterest. So I spend a lot of time. I started out in the blogging world. I started being asked by brands and larger businesses like, hey, Meagan, what you're doing on Pinterest is really cool. I'm an influencer on the platform. I was working as a content creator on the side of being an educational psychologist. And so I started trying to figure out, well, I know what works for me as a content creator, but what could work for other business owners? And that's when I realized how important your content was. So I think that's actually where a lot of the breakdown happens, is that people feel that they go on there, they post one thing and they walk away and they say, well, it didn't work for me. Well, yeah, because you don't have a content strategy. But and that's where like bloggers and content creators, it's true. It's easier for them because they make a living from creating content. But most people in the online space have come up with some sort of visibility or content marketing plan. Now, that could be a really solid Instagram strategy. That could be your blog content. It could be your YouTube channel. And all of these things are vehicles for information that you can put on Pinterest. And I think that's what a lot of business owners don't understand.
Okay, so hold up.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop you right there. So you're saying that,
sure.
So you're saying that even content you're driving off YouTube, you could be pinning at Pinterest.
Exactly.
I did not know
or
that.
Instagram. Yeah, I have a whole blog post actually about it because I get a lot of really amazing, especially online entrepreneurs who are like, I already feel so overwhelmed. I can't start blogging, but could I be on Pinterest? And Instagram is a wonderful way. And it's true. You're not going to have access to as much data, but what you're going to do is drive traffic to a place where you are educating, providing value, inspiring. And so like, here's my like little quickie. Your Instagram posts, those are like mini blog posts. Your Instagram stories, those are video pins. Your IGTV, well, those are long form educational, educational sessions or like mini workshops. So drive traffic to those things. And what you're doing is sort of cross-pollinating and just creating brand awareness. And actually that's where I've seen a real shift. That depending on your business, some people will say, well, what metric should I be looking at? And it really depends what your goal is. But I think for most people, if you've already established your business, what you're looking to do, you have a proven product, you know what you're doing, you have something that's helping people, but you're thinking, how can I bring more people into my sales funnel and increase my visibility? And Pinterest is amazing for that, for free too.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. So I want to ask very quickly. I have some staggering statistics about how many people search on Pinterest all the time. So before I even preface that, I come from a design and marketing and eventing background. I've used Pinterest for as long as I can. If I was looking for the pink elephant photo, like I went to Pinterest. Like if I searched for anything, invariably the best stuff came up via Pinterest. So I've always used it from a very creative perspective. And when I look at the people that are on there's a lot of crafting and a lot of design around it. You said you said that one of the things is that people don't know if their clients are there. But what are the numbers right now with people on Pinterest?
Well, usage is up 60% over this time last year, basically when COVID rolled out, which is that's a very unusual circumstance. People are at home and they're looking now for creative solutions, how to work from home, how to work from home with children, how to get more out of my groceries, how to cook with pantry staples. But what they're also doing is looking up how to start a side hustle, a lot of people who thought they had secure jobs did not. They were all let go, right? Like how many people, it's very sad and I'm not celebrating that. But the reality is I think a lot of people who thought they had very secure jobs, I would actually say that I was the same. I worked in school psychology for almost 10 years. And I always thought, well, I had that in my back pocket. If I ever decide I don't want to do marketing or Pinterest marketing, I can go back to my school psychology job. I would have got pink slipped last year when my government decided to axe psychological services in our public school board. And I would have never have thought, like we were, it was something that was a shoo-in. So I think a lot of people have realized how fragile their jobs are, and they're looking to either, make more money on the side. They're looking to not be in a job that they hate anymore, or just to be able to help more people. And so those people are turning to Pinterest for that next move in their business. And it's true. The number pool for people who are looking up online business information, coaching, how do I improve my life? How do I, do X, Y, and Z? Sure, the numbers are smaller in terms of the magnitude versus how many people are looking up blueberry pancakes. It's true, but those people are there. And when they're there, they're very intentional. So I actually have a great case study. I worked with a website designer and WordPress developer. And what we found is when we optimized his content for Pinterest, and he was like, I don't know if my people are there, but I said, let's just try, get your content on Pinterest. We were finding that the average time on site for a Pinterest user to his website was 10 minutes long. So super high quality people. Now, mind you, it wasn't 500,000 people, but those 500 people that came were staying for 10 minutes each, which is pretty crazy. So the pool is smaller, but they're there. They're planning a business move, and they're looking for support in their personal life and their professional life, and they're on there.
I want to ask a question. Something you said now was that people are searching for solutions right now in the mix of COVID. Coaches invariably provide solutions. Okay. I know that I have not always gone to go search Pinterest for something, but by entering a search into Google, the Pinterest results have dominated. Right. So it's not that they have to be searching in Pinterest to find what they're looking for, to find links to your blogs or your, and I'm understanding that, every blog has obviously got a graphic attached to it, which would say, the 5 strategies for, marketing with Pinterest or whatever the case may be, the solution that the coach provides, that then links back to there. So that's how you drive traffic. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not just, so it's a strategy, like you said.
It is. And it's sort of, you have to have that bigger picture for what your plan is, right?
How do you pin YouTube? That's what I want to know. How do you pin YouTube?
Oh, so, well, you can pin just the YouTube thumbnail, or you can create a unique pin and you put the destination URL as your YouTube video link. But so you can verify your Instagram and your YouTube account. So you can actually then track more statistics for those accounts within Pinterest. So let me just back up to what you just said, Jay, because it's really interesting about Google. So here's the story of Google and Pinterest. Back in the day, they were best friends. Then Pinterest started to make social moves. They went and had a meeting with Facebook. They had a meeting, they were meeting with different people. And then Google started to realize, wait a sec, all of our top ranking content is Pinterest content. And you are actually a competitor with us. So they actually did an algorithm change, which deranked Pinterest searches as top ranking content. But something has changed in the last 6 months, because now Pinterest links or Pinterest search links are top ranking again. So there's been no public announcement. When the shift happened before, people saw drops in traffic. There was all ripples online. What's going on? Google's figured out that Pinterest is out to steal their traffic. But I guess maybe they met, maybe they didn't. We'll never know, right? They never really reveal this information.
The algorithms are the big secret, like the Coca-Cola recipe on all these platforms.
Yeah. And they don't really want you to know all of it. And I think there is some, a lot of people get PO'd about it, that as if Google or Pinterest or Instagram or Facebook owe us something. Listen, they don't owe us anything. Even when you're using paid advertising, it's rented territory. And so what's really interesting too, though, is that Pinterest sends social signals to Google. So a great example is, I have a woman in my community. She is a bilingual blogger. And so she makes her full-time living from blogging about food and lifestyle in Spanish and English. Okay. And she told me that she used what I teach for how to create content. So she had an idea, took how I taught, and she's been in the space for 8 years. Like, she's not a new blogger. But what ended up happening, which was really cool, is that kind of considering Pinterest, considering your SEO and your organic search, she combined my methodology that I teach. And what she found is, because it went viral on Pinterest in the first 5 days, it sent social signals to Google. And then she was ranked number 5 within 10 days of the blog post going live, which is, like, for something that's high ranking, very hard to do. But Pinterest sends social signals to Google when something starts to get momentum. And basically, if you write content or provide content to the world that helps them, provides insight into their life or into their business or into, any sort of decision, it should be on Pinterest because it's going to help you get in front of a lot of people. And it's a more passive form of, pardon me, a more passive form of marketing. You don't have to be on video. You don't have to be doing stories all the time. It's a great place to repurpose your content marketing from other platforms and your website.
So the algorithms, there's always a catch to these, and I'm talking about specifically the algorithms in Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make sure that you get found in Pinterest? So, for instance, I know that, with all the algorithms, it's depending on how active you are, how many likes you get, how much time people are engaging with your particular pins, etc. How do you not just get lost in the same, scenario with every other platform on every other social media, right at the bottom of the pile?
So here's a really cool thing about Pinterest. Unlike other platforms, if you optimize your content, it doesn't matter whether you have 1 follower or 100,000. If you optimize your images and then your keywords and your descriptions attached to your pins, you can rank as high. Like, actually, I use Coca-Cola as an example sometimes, or, like any of the big brands. So if Walmart puts out a blog post about, a tea recipe and you have one, but you optimize your content, you're going to rank higher than Walmart. It's that simple. And so it almost puts people on equal footing. So it's great for new business owners, because if you know that your information is helpful, taking the time to optimize it. And actually that's what I find is the people who they go on Pinterest for one day and then they don't do anything, not much happens. They don't optimize their images. They're not optimizing their pin titles or pin descriptions, and they're not consistent. We know that. If you want to grow anywhere, you have to show up. You have to be consistent. Right? And that's really hard. As humans, we have a very hard time being consistent due to life, family, taking care of parents, taking care of, maybe you're still working another business, or you're not confident, all these things. So I think that being consistent, and what that looks like from a very practical standpoint, is pinning every day. So a lot of people say, well, can I just pin one thing a day? This is not Instagram. You have to pin multiple things a day. So I actually suggest to people, if they're starting out with Pinterest, that consider your account to be an account that curates high quality resources. So it's not just content that's from your own website or blog, but it's also curating content that will help them overall. So if you're a life coach that focuses on, the inner work, you also know that there's other components that are going to help the overall well-being of your clients. Maybe it's, their self-care. Maybe it's their getting outdoors and, getting active. Maybe it's forming connections with loved ones or reading. So maybe, you're not an author yourself, but you have a collection of books that you always recommend to your clients. Well, you could curate a board that has your favorite titles of books that you recommend. And so what it does is it kind of says, the same way that, you meet somebody and they say, oh, what do you do? And you tell them what you do. And next thing, you're at a party, or, well, not right now. We're not at parties, not in my country anyways, not yet.
Not yet.
But when we're allowed to be at parties and people say, oh yeah, people always ask me, I've always had dogs. So people will say, well, oh, what food do you feed your dog? Or and people are interested not just in the dog, but they're interested in how you trained it, where you got their collar, what food you feed them. And the same is true for online businesses. So my own account is a great example. I teach only about Pinterest, but Pinterest does not operate in a vacuum. So I also provide content from other sources, other high quality sources, about website optimization, SEO, using Instagram, email marketing, because these are all things that affect your Pinterest marketing efforts. So I curate resources from other experts. So people come to me because they're like, well, Meagan, who do you recommend when it comes to email marketing? Who's your Facebook ads person? So I curate resources that help my ideal customer. And then they find me maybe via that, but they stick around for the Pinterest.
Okay. So you said, and I agree. I mean, I always say that everything you're looking for is on the other side of consistency. But here's the thing. The way coaches make money is by coaching, right? So if you need to spend an hour on Instagram and an hour on Pinterest, pinning every single day, multiple pins, and in your Facebook groups and on creating your YouTube videos, when do you Okay. How do you make
when
that work in a way?
when do you how do you eat your breakfast?
I mean, because that's the whole thing. There's a big thing that you want to get found, and you want to get, build that credibility in the field, and you wanting to have eyes on your stuff and on all these platforms.
Yeah.
But at some point, you need time to actually deliver the services versus just online.
To do the work.
Yeah.
So here's what I suggest. So I teach within my own community, and I do this with my like one-on-one clients, my strategy clients, and then people who join my broader community, is that I teach, it's almost like a tentacle approach. So I believe very heavily in that your content drives your social media channels and not the other way around. So we now live in a world where, because I did this, and maybe you can relate to this, is that because I started out 10 years ago, what happened was first you came up with a blog post, you worked on the blog post, you published it, and then social media came afterwards. Social media is where you amplify, right? So it's like, I have I'm teaching about X, or you have a blog post about a webinar or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what the topic or what form you're sharing it in, whether it's a video, a blog post, a landing page, a freebie, a worksheet, an ebook, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the reality is we are now being conditioned to think the other way around. It's like, well, what am I going to post on Instagram? And then afterwards you're like, oh, should I put it on my website? No. Back in the day, everything started with your website. Your website is your house. You own it. You have control of it. We don't own Instagram. We don't own Pinterest. We don't own YouTube. All these places, TikTok, you can get banned. You can have your account frozen. You can get hacked. It goes down and people freak out. So I really teach that you start with your content, then you think about, okay, so I have a blog post about how to optimize your Pinterest images. So Linda just asked how to optimize images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a blog post that teaches people about how to optimize their images. Then once I'm done writing that blog post, that Linda, you can write this down, your images need to be an aspect ratio of 2:3, or how that translates to pixels, it is a minimum of 600 pixels by 900 pixels. I have a great blog post about it and a freebie all about optimizing your pin images, which I can share with Jay to send to you.
Absolutely.
And Canva is a wonderful
you're speaking
thing.
Linda's language. She's a photographer and an artist, so she understands pixels and aspect ratios.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, and I think that's just the thing, right? Is that people just throw up what they've created for other places on Pinterest, and you're just not getting the most out of it. Images that are optimized are going to get 2 to 3 times more engagement than non-optimized images. So what I teach is that you come up with that content, right? Like how to optimize your Pinterest images. Then you decide, what does it look like as an Instagram post? What does it look like as stories? Am I going to go live in my Facebook community and do a 10-minute video about it? On my email list, it's going to look like this. My YouTube video is going to be like this. So if everyone starts paying attention to me, usually when I create a piece of content over the span of 7 days, this is what I do with one piece of content: blog post, YouTube video, Instagram post, Instagram stories over multiple days, an email to my email list, Pinterest pins that drive back to the blog post, an IGTV video, a live in my Facebook community. So one idea is going to at least 8 places. And actually, I've taken it up a notch, and in my paid community, I do a 2-hour live tutorial with a Q&A after about the same subject. So when you pay to work with me, you get coaching, you get access to the full thing. But in my free communities or places where I work on my marketing, you get a taste for it. I'll teach you the basics. But if you want to go deeper, then you join my paid community. And so that's how I run my business now. And this is what I teach to people, is that really you also need to think about what your most valuable real estate is. To me, that's your website and your email list, right? And I know like people are so sick of hearing that. I see big people saying, oh no, you don't need that. You just need a podcast or an Instagram account. Listen. That's fine when you have 20,000 followers, but I get and I have friends who have done this and I've called them out on it. It's not fair to teach something like, oh, you don't need a website or blog. You can just use your Instagram channel. I'm like, that's easy for you to say. You have 7,000 followers. You have 14,000 followers. Your clients don't. And what's actually funnier is that when you look at people who are teaching that, they don't actually follow that themselves.
No.
So the same people who are like, just sell in your Instagram stories. Listen, I sell in my like we all use these different things, but it's in your best interest to diversify your traffic. And Pinterest is a wonderful way to do that. But it doesn't have to be that you're spending an hour a day. So let's go back to that comment, right? Like an hour on Instagram, an hour on Pinterest.
Yeah, but
what's really wonderful.
But okay,
Yes.
So you said one blog post. So you obviously blog once a week. Out of a blog post, you have a pin. You're saying you have to pin every single day, maybe even multiple times a day.
So here's a secret.
It's not going to have like 27 pins in it, right?
Okay, let's be honest. I blog once a month. Sometimes in an ideal world, I would blog 4 times a month. I lost a writer recently. I have not been as consistent, but this is what I do that Pinterest loves. One blog post or landing page, and I create 10 to 20 pins. Pinterest doesn't care if your content is old. You can make new optimized pins for content from 5 years ago, and Pinterest will love you for it. So actually, and bloggers, whenever you want to know how to game or hack a platform, look at what bloggers do. And actually, when you start looking at me, if anyone does, what I do is I have my graphic designer on retainer, and every month I say, create new pins for this blog post from November 2018, create new pins for this blog. And so we just freshen it up. We use new images. I do some new text overlay, and it sends the signal to Pinterest that I have added new content. So really your Pinterest strategy shouldn't take more than 45 minutes a week. And like that is using Tailwind, scheduling your content, creating new pins, and adding some pins to Pinterest and automating it. It's not a 100% set it and walk away. I would recommend that you can automate 90% of your Pinterest strategy or Pinterest efforts, and then jump in there once a week and pin a few things. So I generally, what I do is I when I have a new piece of content, I put it up on Pinterest, and then everything else manually, and then everything else is automated. And then Pinterest likes that. And there has been some recent changes where they're saying Pinterest is not favoring people who do 100% scheduled. So just make sure you're trying, you got to use the platform the way it was designed to be used. Yeah. So like once a week I'll go in, like I'm trying to provide some more email marketing support to my folks as integrated with Pinterest. So I'll look up high quality email marketing articles that are on Pinterest, and I pin 5 of those, and then I turn off the app. You know what I mean? Like that's it. It doesn't have to be crazy.
That sounds doable. That doesn't sound like it's adding to the overwhelm.
Okay, Linda's a very good student. She's putting up her hand.
No, but it is. And so I mean, Linda and she's worked with me, and so I know it. I know the overwhelm around getting all the things done.
Yeah.
Because there are so many, there is not one strategy to building an online business. There's a multitude of things. And
absolutely.
But you still have to get to the actual coaching. At the end of the day, you need time in your day or your week to actually have income generating activities. And you can't get away from that.
Yeah.
So,
no.
So I think that was a great little secret right there. The fact that you can actually pin back to stuff that you've previously done. So you're not having to come up, you don't need a 3-person strong design team and 4, ghostwriters on your team to be constantly generating this kind of stuff. I love the fact that you admitted you only blog once a month. I'm taking my plan schedule down.
Yeah. We all have things on our to-do list. Yeah. When I lost a writer, it all went south. But that's actually, what I've done as a solution in the meantime is I take my YouTube videos and then I host them on my website, and I create a mini blog post because it's better than nothing. And I always want to drive traffic back to my website. I don't like driving traffic to my YouTube or my Instagram. I will, but I don't want to. I want to put traffic where I can actually track it. So Clive just asked what app. I use Tailwind. So Tailwind is an approved partner of Pinterest. I only ever use approved partners because then I know I'm not going to get into hot water with automating anything. So I always recommend that with anything, whether it's your Instagram or, just make sure you're using apps that have API, and you can look up on any website what their approved partners are. So Linda, did you have a question?
Linda, do you want me to bring you on? Just hang on. You can, let me unmute
No,
you.
I'm there.
There you are.
Yeah, I'm so totally overwhelmed. I've even forgotten my question. And I've been trying to get the two others on, but I can't send them links. Jay knows how challenged I am, but anyway, there's two other people trying to get on, but be that as it may. My question is, I wonder what it is. I think I must think again, but it had to do with traffic, and then Jay spoke, so I can't remember really.
I think you put your hand up when we were talking about you could create new images for older content. Does that trigger anything?
Not just yet, but aside from which, I am listening hard, because if this is where I'm going to get coaching clients, if I understand it correctly, almost as a result of writing good blogs and content, so it's got a little bit more of an academic intellectual field to it in a way. I'm providing information, and I'm not so lost in the sea of likes and funny memes and things like that, which I don't understand.
Yeah.
So then that seems quite nice.
Yeah.
And I've got lots of nice things that I can I'll do a little bit each day that I can just draw out of my archives, if I'm understanding this whole world correctly.
Yes.
And then maybe by just now, I'll remember my question.
So I have a question for you, Linda. What kind of coaching business do you have? Because Jay mentioned photography. So do you coach photographers, or what's your coaching business?
So it's a little bit multifaceted, and this is the problem. So I want to perhaps do personal branding and style coaching as well, notwithstanding what I look like today, but anyway, it is very cold here.
Look very styling today. I think I need to take a photo of this whole thing and pin that.
Yeah.
Hell no. I mean, this is a disaster zone of note, okay? But I'm brave enough to switch this bloody video on again, and I'm doing it just for you guys. Okay, so I was going to do style coaching because I've heard that many people want that. They really and truly want to look good. They want to know how to look good. And then I've got the photography side, which adds to that, So I look at image wounding, which is usually quite a nice thing that you can coach around. Mm-hmm. Then the other part is, what do you want to portray and what the clothing means, and that there's lovely stuff. Okay, so that's one thing.
Yeah, lots of content.
Lots of content.
And graphically beautiful content too, which is great.
I think so. What I'm gonna sort of interject just to say what you need to think about is, so once you provide that free value of, say, giving them some tips about, like, how to pick an outfit or how to style your hair so that you're comfortable, or all these things, how to I think that what you need to think about is your buyer's journey. So it's very rare that somebody's going to come in, read a blog post that teaches them how to pick a beautiful sweater that suits them, and that they book you as a coach, like they sign up for your coaching package. So what you need to think about is that journey from beginning to end. So if Pinterest helps them find you and discover you, Linda, how are you going to nurture them? And I'm sure this is like, what you work on with Jay or in, in your online learning, is thinking about that buyer's journey. So I'll tell you what I do. I know that I could help them with my blog post that teaches them how to name their Pinterest boards, but they are not going to sign up for my program. But what I'm going to do is solve a problem, position my authority, teach them for free, and then say, hey, I also have this amazing guide. Would you like to sign up for it? Because then they join my email list, and then I teach them some more. And then when I offer something that's paid, they are already nurtured. They already know my style. They know that my dog is going to show up when I'm on video. They know that sometimes I have a potty mouth, but I stick to the facts. I'm honest, my teachings are short and funny, and we go for it. I'm not somebody who wants to show up and teach for 3 hours to talk about something that could have been taught in 3 minutes. So it allows people to get to know you and decide if they want to continue that relationship with you. And I think that that's something also where there's a disconnect, especially in the coaching world or in the world where we provide, some sort of support or services, is that we drop the ball. They find you, then what? right? And so what we don't really talk about is that on Instagram, someone might be following you for 2 to 3 months before they ask you, hey, Linda, I would love to work with you. Do you coach people? Do you have a coaching package? So the reality is they're quietly creeping on your stories and being nurtured for 3 months. And it's the same. So Pinterest helps them get to you. And then you need to think about what you want them to do. Join your email list, follow you on Instagram, join your Facebook community, buy a low price, tiny offer from you. What's going to be that next step?
Wow.
Yeah. So
okay,
the
somewhere
good
there's
news
not
is, Linda, is that
that.
the good news is that a lot of that gets covered in the summit. We've actually got specialists in all those little things.
Amazing. See, it's like we planned
exactly, because exactly what Meagan is saying. It's not one thing. It's not just getting found. It's not just driving traffic. It's not just being on Instagram. And I posted something on Instagram the other day saying, don't get found if your foundations aren't in place. If you don't know what to do with them next, don't bother getting found yet. You know what I mean? It's super important. So 100% right. But it is, I was just thinking about for the coaching aspects of Pinterest, and I know how much I have used Pinterest in looking for inspiration around freebies and content and that. And that has come up on Pinterest. So coaches are there. There's no two ways about it. They're there. With force, they're there.
Yeah, they are. And the thing is, like, people are looking, right? And the thing is, like, if people are searching on Google, they're looking on Pinterest too. And I think that it just provides an opportunity for people to diversify their traffic. And I work with a lot of introverts, like people who just, like, we don't want to be on Instagram all day. I don't. Like, I have days I just do, like, today, fine. But like, my kid and my husband had to leave. My 3-year-old, if he wakes up with a fever, I'm not getting on Instagram, right? Like, that's my life that I'm in right now. That's the stage. I don't live in it. My house is constantly a mess. You know what I mean? Like, trying to find somewhere where I can film that isn't messy. So for me, I always have my Pinterest traffic in my back pocket. And so I've had friends, I have a friend whose husband got cancer and is terminally ill. And she walked away from her active, in your face, marketing. But Pinterest kept building her email list. That was the one place where she felt like she could show up at nighttime after chemo. She would write an email letting people know what was going on. So like, it's this sort of like thing where it builds and sends social signals and builds out your visibility plan. And that's actually why, like, so many people right now are wanting to begin using Pinterest, because we're fed up of being online all day. We're fed up of having to do so much video. Like, video is wonderful, right? But you have to be in the mood for it and feel like, you're ready to chat. And so making it part of your system to work in conjunction with the others, right? Like, I would never solely rely on Pinterest. I think about what I'm going to, well, you guys know, I just shared, I shared all the details of what I do. And that's because it's an ecosystem that works together, but one can be removed and it's still going to take care of me and have leads coming into my business constantly.
Awesome. Valuable stuff right there. These are just, that's exactly what we're here to do, is to boil down those, because all the information about how wonderful Pinterest is out there, but those strategies around how to use it and maximize it whilst maximizing your time, that's where the secret is. I mean, that's the secret sauce.
Mm-hmm. It is. Well, and that can be very difficult, right? To nail that down, but you have to figure out what works for you. And I think that's also something where it's like, we try to force ourselves into situations. For years, I kept trying to be something I wasn't on Instagram, because I could see the recipe of what was successful for other people. Like, I always end up swearing. And I was trying not so hard to swear. I know I haven't.
You're so unprofessional, Meagan. Dogs and swearing.
I don't. Well,
I'm sorry, I used to work I'm so sorry. This was the only Pinterest speaker we could get. There was no one else available.
I used to work with small children. Do you know what that does to you? You have to watch every word you say. So the second I was around adults, I would just like say a swear word because I could. And I grew up in a home where my mom said, you can swear, just never swear at me, like a good Irish mother. Like she didn't care. But I, as an adult online now, and I always laugh about that, right? So if swearing offends you, do not. Actually, one of my best friends is Muslim, and we laugh where she's like, well, you're allowed to drink. I'm not.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any
I have a question.
questions?
Can I?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Can I ask a question? So Pinterest is not my forte at all. And I've never really used it to even thought of it to get coaching clients. But what intrigues me is you say you can use Pinterest to grow your email database. For me, Pinterest, and we might have covered this already. I'm not sure if I arrived a bit late, but I've always understood Pinterest as a way to drive traffic. But not necessarily to drive your email database. How could I practically go do that?
Yeah,
What
that's
kind
a great
of steps
question.
do you put in place?
I love that, Clive, because this is actually what happens. I watch a lot of people talking about Pinterest online, and it's these growth hacks and just send a lot of traffic, and no one talks about the then what, right?
And traffic.
Yeah, and conversions are actually the hardest thing because if you think about a Pinterest user, they're top of funnel. They're just in discovery mode. So they're trying to figure out who they want to gather information from, who's going to help them. And so what you have to do is create a funnel of that. They're constantly coming in and then being nurtured to make a decision to buy something from you in 2 to 3 months. So this is where, like, thinking about how you're going to get them to join. So if you know that you have the highest conversion rates from your email list, your goal should be that you get email subscribers from Pinterest. And so what you need to think about is your content that already has is a proven pathway for the highest conversions. So do you have a lead magnet? Do you have a webinar? Do you encourage them to book a discovery call with you? And what are your pathways to getting people to do that thing? So Jay mentioned displaying your lead magnets on Pinterest and trying out different visual presentation. So if you have a worksheet, if you have, or if you do a webinar workshop, how could you do a tech mock-up? People on Pinterest are very, very visual. And so whatever way you can kind of show, or if your ideal customer looks a particular way, they're aspiring to a particular life, could you find stock imagery that represents where they want to be and use those images to create your pins? So what I find, I actually devote more time to creating. So I have way too many lead magnets. I think I have 4 or 5. So what I do is I drive traffic directly to sign up pages that are long form. So to increase your conversion rates from Pinterest, you need to think about your landing pages. And so landing pages that you've created for Facebook ads or Instagram ads are not going to work. They're short and sweet, and it's sort of like, sign up here, give me your email, I'll give you the free thing. Pinterest people, they want to be wined and dined. You almost have to create what I call a medium to long form landing page or sales page for that freebie offer, and you will increase your conversion rates. It's funny because I find that that's taken a long time, and not a lot of people know that. I actually work with Facebook ads experts, and they ran like $10,000 Pinterest ad campaigns, and they're like, we're not getting hardly any signups. And they were using the same landing pages that they use for Facebook traffic, and it just wasn't converting. So think about your landing pages. Think about how you can represent that that pathway. So however you get people, the carrot that you put in front of your people to get them to join your email list, what's going to be that exchange of energy, and then represent that in a pin or multiple pins. And I actually recommend, this is what I do myself, is I drive traffic straight to that long form opt-in page, but I also create blog posts that drive traffic to the opt-in pages. So, it's a bit of a longer journey, but then I'm driving traffic to both. So try that, and think about how you can represent your lead magnets or opt-ins on Pinterest, and really use those keywords that your audience would use to find that information. That's another big mistake, is that people use as experts, like, you know, there's a reason why someone wants to hire you. It's because you know a lot about what you're doing, but those aren't the words. The way that you describe the thing that you do might be slightly different, or most likely is different than what your ideal potential customer early in their journey is using. So they might be using much more basic terms. So for me, I might talk about Pinterest marketing, but the reality is that my ideal customer is probably using Pinterest tips for beginners, Pinterest tip tutorials, whereas like I wouldn't typically use that language. That makes sense? Great.
That answer your
Content
question.
is very, very good, Meagan. I've already written 3 pages and it's too much.
I should have given you guys a warning. Show up to a talk with me and I'll have you scrolling a million notes. You know what? The thing is that like this is easy for me, right? I've been doing it for 10 years and I know like it's not always obvious to other people. I love when people discover Pinterest and start using it, especially people who struggle with other forms of social, because all of a sudden it clicks. Like I'm about to run a challenge, and in my challenge on the first day, and I think it throws people off because some people have been online for 10 years, 8 years, 5 years, and they can't figure out why they can't grow. And so we go back to basics. We talk about your content and how to create content that people on Pinterest actually want, right? And that actually goes for all social.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have those aha moments on day one when we're talking about content, and how we typically, as advanced thinkers, we overthink it. We make it too complicated. And so, and our people, especially people who are just looking to discover us, they're not ready. They're not ready to go there yet. And so you have to think about where your people are at step 1 or 2 when you create content to bring them into your world.
Absolutely. And those critical next steps and it is a big missing piece of the pie, is that, again, everything has to interlink and work together. It's part of it's part of an ecosystem of generating and building trust and showing up. And there's no amount of awesome graphic that's going to substitute brilliant content. You know, we've heard that term, you know, content is king. Content has to drive everything else. It's key. And it consistency. Yes.
Yeah, the C's. Yeah.
No, it's another one. Shh, before it goes. Consistency. I'm writing that down because Jay's going to ask me spot on questions and I'm going to miss it out again, and then I'm stuffed. And she won't give me wine. Okay. I answer questions for wine with Jay. Do you suppose it's my hormones that are really just not working today? Okay. So would corporate people look on Pinterest to also get a sense of coaches for business and executive coaching? Just ask.
Yeah. So I actually have someone who's been in my world. Yes, but their journey is longer. So a woman who is in my community started using Pinterest a year ago, February, had somebody book her in December for a $10,000 coaching package. And she said, "How did you originally find me?" It was in her intake form. And the woman said, "On Pinterest." Then I subscribed to your email list. So she was on her email list for 8 months before she actually signed up for a discovery call and then booked the package. So it's true, but you need to have a long-term plan. This is a slow burn, right? And I think that's what kills people. We've been conditioned. We opened this call with saying that people look like, oh my gosh, like she's doing so good. And I've been doing this for years. I should be good at it, right? And I've made all the mistakes, but you have to sometimes make mistakes to learn what works for you. And I think that though with Pinterest, and this is why it kind of bombs for some people, is that it's like a flash in the pan, and then they decide, well, it didn't work for me on Monday, so I'm just not, my business isn't there. But it's that type of thing that when you put in the effort now, it takes care of you in 3 months, 6 months. Like I have stuff that my content that I created a year ago, October, November, is what is feeding me traffic right now. And the content that I'm creating today is what will feed me in 3 to 6 months time. So it's like constantly like a snowball humming away, getting in front of more people, growing my visibility. So then you have this like ecosystem that it keeps, you're feeding the machine, and it takes care of you. So you build upon that momentum, and the more wood you put in the fire, it keeps going and going and going. So at first, the first month, you might have nobody. The second month, 10 people sign up for your email list. The third month, 30 people do. And you'll want to look in your Google Analytics at your assisted conversions, because assisted conversions or assisted like underneath conversions, there's an aspect.
Are we frozen?